We are here, Tiger Lily and me. You can't see her, but she's here. Can you hear her purring? Such a loud purr. This is my favorite when she's like on the side of my leg and one paw, actually two paws are on top of my thigh and her head is pressed against it. She looks so freaking cute. I wish I could snap a picture, but we're going to dive right in to chapter 10. Love is a choice. I'm Aviva, by the way. If this is your first time here, welcome. And I've got the first 9 chapters of this book. This will be like the first complete book that we do live. So it's in honor of my friend who gave it to me. I thought I had a note from her in here somewhere. Anyway, the 5 love languages. Kitty! Kitty baby! She wants all of my attention right now, suddenly. How can we speak each other's love language when we are full of hurt, anger, and resentment over past failures? The answer to that question lies in the essential nature of our humanity. We are creatures of choice. That means that we have the capacity to make poor choices, which all of us have done. We have spoken critical words, and we have done hurtful things, and we are not proud of those choices. Although they may have seemed justified at the moment, poor choices in the past don't mean that we must make them in the future. Instead, we can say, I'm sorry. I know I've hurt you, but I would like to make the future different. I would like to love you in your language. I would like to meet your needs, Tiger Lily. I have seen marriages rescued from the brink of divorce when couples make the choice to love. Can you do the other side of this heart? Oh my gosh, she almost did it. You almost did it, baby. Okay. Love doesn't erase the past, but it makes the future different. When we choose active expressions of love in the primary love language of our spouse, we create an emotional climate where we can deal with our past conflicts and failures. I just don't love her anymore, quote unquote. Brent was in my office, stone faced and seemingly unfeeling. He had come not by his own initiative, but at my request. A week earlier, his wife, Becky, had been sitting in the same chair, weeping. Between her outbursts of tears, she managed to verbalize that Brent had told her that he no longer loved her and that he was leaving. She was devastated. When she regained her composure, she said, "We have both worked so hard the last 2 or 3 years. I knew that we were not spending as much time together as we used to, but I thought we were working for a common goal. I cannot believe what he is saying. He has always been such a kind and caring person. He is such a good father to our children," she continued. "How could he do this to us?" I listened as she described their 12 years of marriage. It was a story I had heard many times before. They had an exciting courtship, got married at the height of the in love experience, had the typical adjustments in the early days of marriage, and pursued the American dream. In due time, they came down off the emotional high of the in love experience, but did not learn to speak each other's love language sufficiently. She had lived with a love tank only half full for the last several years, but she had received enough expressions of love to make her think that everything was okay. However, his love tank was empty. Boing, 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 boing. Boing, 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 boing. I told Becky that I would see if Brent would talk with me. I told Brent on the phone, as you know, Becky came to see me and told me about her struggle with what is happening in the marriage. I want to help her, but in order to do so, I need to know what you are thinking. He agreed readily, and now he sat in my office. His outward appearance was in stark contrast to Becky's. She had been weeping copiously, but he was stoic. I had the impression, however, that his tears had been shed weeks or perhaps months before, and that it had been an inward weeping. The story Brent told confirmed my hunch. I just don't love her anymore, he said. I haven't loved her for a long time. I don't want to hurt her, but we are not close. Our relationship has become empty. I don't enjoy being with her anymore. I don't know what happened. I wish it were different, but I don't have any feelings for her. Baby. Boink, boink, boink. Brent was thinking and feeling what hundreds of thousands of husbands have thought and felt through the years. It's the I don't love her anymore mindset that gives men the emotional freedom to seek love with someone else. The same is true for wives who use the same excuse. You. I sympathize with Brent, for I have been there. Thousands of husbands and wives have been there, emotionally empty, wanting to do the right thing, not wanting to hurt anyone, but being pushed by their emotional need to seek love outside the marriage. Fortunately, I had discovered in the earlier years of my own marriage the difference between the in love experience and the emotional need to feel loved. Most in our society have not yet learned that difference. The in love experience that we discussed in chapter 3 is on the level of instinct. It is not premeditated. It simply happens in the normal context of male female relationships. It can be fostered or quenched, but it does not arise by conscious choice. It is short lived, usually 2 years or less, and seems to serve for humankind the same functions as the mating call of the Canada goose. The in love experience temporarily meets one's emotional need for love. It gives us the feeling that someone cares, that someone admires us and appreciates us. Our emotions soar with the thought that another person sees us as a number one, that he or she is willing to devote time and energies exclusively to our relationship. For a brief period, however long it lasts, our emotional need for love is met. I love how she looks when I turn the page. Our tank is full. We can conquer the world. Nothing is impossible. For many individuals, it is the first time they have ever lived with a full emotional tank, and the feeling is euphoric. I still can't see you. It doesn't go hello. All right. In time, however, we come down from that natural high back to the real world. If our spouse has learned to speak our primary love language, our need for love will continue to be satisfied. If, on the other hand, our need for love, he or she does not speak our love language, our tank will slowly drain and we will no longer feel loved. Meeting that need in one spouse is definitely a choice. If I learn the emotional love language of my spouse and speak it frequently, she will continue to feel loved. When she comes down from the obsession of the in love experience, she will hardly even miss it because her emotional love tank will continue to be filled. However, if I have not learned her primary love language or have chosen not to speak it, when she descends from the emotional high, she will have the natural yearning of unmet emotional needs. After some years of living with an empty love tank, she will likely fall in love with someone else, and the cycle will begin again. Meeting my wife's need for love is a choice. I make it each day. If I know her primary love language and choose to speak it, her deepest emotional needs will be met and she will feel secure in my love. If she does the same for me, my emotional needs are met, and both of us live with a full tank. In a state of emotional contentment, both of us will give our creative energies to many wholesome projects outside the marriage while we continue to keep our marriage exciting and growing. With all of that in mind, I looked back at the deadpan face of Brent and wondered if I could help him. I knew in my heart that he was probably already involved with another in love experience. I wondered if it was in the beginning stages or at its height. Few men suffering from an empty emotional love tank leave their marriage until they have prospects of meeting that need somewhere else. Brent was honest and revealed that he had been in love with someone else for several months. Do, 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 do. He had hoped that the feelings would go away and that he could work things out with his wife, but things at home had gotten worse. Yeah, when you lie, hello. And his love for the other woman had increased. He could not imagine living without his new lover. I sympathized with Brent in his dilemma. He sincerely did not want to hurt his wife or his children, but at the same time, he felt he deserved a life of happiness. I told him the dismal statistics on second marriages. He was surprised to hear that, but was certain that he would beat the odds. I told him about the research on the effects of divorce on children. But he was convinced that he would continue to be a good father to his children and that they would get over the trauma of the divorce. I talked to Brent about the issues in this book and explained the difference between the experience of falling in love and the deep emotional need to feel loved. I explained the 5 love languages and challenged him to give his marriage another chance. All the while, I knew that my intellectual and reasoned approach to marriage, compared to the emotional high that he was experiencing, was like pitting a BB gun against an automatic weapon. He expressed appreciation for my concern and asked that I do everything possible to help Becky, but he declared that he saw no hope for the marriage. 1 month later, I received a call from Brent. He indicated that he would like to talk to me again. This time, when he entered my office, he was noticeably disturbed. He was not the calm, cool man I had seen before. His lover had begun to come down from the emotional high, and she was observing things in Brent that she did not like. She was withdrawing from the relationship, and he was crushed. Tears came to his eyes, and he told me how much she meant to him and how unbearable it was to experience her rejection. I listened for an hour before Brent ever asked for my advice. I told him how sympathetic I was to his pain and indicated that what he was experiencing was the natural emotional grief from a loss and that the grief would not go away overnight. I explained, however, that the experience was inevitable. I reminded him of the temporary nature of the in love experience, that sooner or later, we always come down from the high to the real world. Some fall out of love before they get married, others after they get married. He agreed that it was better now than later. After a while, I suggested that perhaps the crisis was a good time for him and his wife to get some marriage counseling. I reminded him that true, long lasting emotional love is a choice and that emotional love could be reborn in his marriage if he and his wife learned to love each other in the right love language. Where are you going, Kit Kat? She is purring so loud. He agreed to marriage counseling, and 9 months later, Brent and Becky left my office with a reborn marriage. Good for you, Gary. When I saw Brent 3 years later, he told me what a wonderful marriage he had and thanked me for helping him at a crucial time in his life. He told me that the grief over losing the other lover had been gone for more than 2 years. He smiled and said, "My tank has never been so full, and Becky is the happiest woman you are ever going to meet." Fortunately, Brent was the benefactor of what I call the disequilibrium of the in love experience. That is, almost never do two people fall in love on the same day, and almost never do they fall out of love on the same day. You don't have to be a social scientist to discover the truth. Just listen to a country and Western song. Just listen to country and Western songs. Brent's lover happened to have fallen out of love at an opportune time. Actions and emotions. In the 9 months that I counseled Brent and Becky, we worked through numerous conflicts that they had never resolved before. But the key to the rebirth of their marriage was discovering each other's primary love language and choosing to speak it frequently. What if the love language of your spouse is something that doesn't come naturally for you? I am often asked this question at my marriage seminars, and my answer is so. My wife's love language is acts of service. One of the things I do for her regularly as an act of love is to vacuum the floors. Do you think that vacuuming floors comes naturally for me? My mother used to make me vacuum. All through junior high and high school, I couldn't go play ball on Saturday until I finished vacuuming the entire house. Dang! In those days, I said to myself, when I get out of here, one thing I am not going to do, I am not going to vacuum houses. But he had such good training. I'll get myself a wife to do that. But I vacuum our house now, and I vacuum it regularly. And there is only one reason I vacuum our house: love. You couldn't pay me enough to vacuum a house, but I do it for love. You see, when an action doesn't come naturally to you, it is a greater expression of love. My wife knows that when I vacuum the house, it's nothing but 100% pure, unadulterated love, and I get credit for the whole thing. Someone says, "But Dr. Chapman, that's different. I know that my spouse's love language is physical touch, and I am not a toucher. I never saw my mother and father hug each other. They never hugged me. I am just not a toucher. What am I going to do?" Do you have two hands? Can you put them together? Now imagine that you have your spouse in the middle and pull him or her towards you. I'll bet that if you hug your spouse 3,000 times, it will begin to feel more comfortable. But ultimately, comfort is not the issue. We are talking about love, and love is something you do for someone else, not something you do for yourself. Most of us do many things each day that do not come naturally for us. For some of us, that is getting out of bed in the morning. We go against our feelings and get out of bed. Why? Because we believe there is something worthwhile to do that day. And normally, before the day is over, we feel good about having gotten up. Our actions precede our emotions. The same is true with love. We discover the primary love language of our spouse, and we choose to speak it, whether or not it's natural for us. We are not claiming to have warm, excited feelings. We're simply choosing to do it for his or her benefit. We want to meet our spouse's emotional need, and we reach out to speak his love language. In so doing, His emotional love tank is filled, and chances are he will reciprocate and speak our language. When he does, our emotions return and our love tank begins to fill. Love is a choice, and either partner can start the process today. Your turn. A key thought here is the idea of speaking your mate's love language, whether or not it is natural for us. Why do you think this is so fundamental to a healthy marriage? Comment below or in the chat your answer, and that completes chapter 10. Why do you think this is so fundamental in a healthy marriage to speak your mate's language, whether it's natural for you or not? Please give this video a like, whether it's natural for you or not, and subscribe to my channel so that my cup can feel full. My love tank of appreciation. Why is it important to speak their language? Because they need to feel loved. Ah. Good night, everybody. Hey, Kat. Are you gonna say good night to everyone? They love you. You wanna say? She says she loves you, and you don't have to see her face and steal her soul with a picture to feel her love. Right? Did I interpret that right? I love you, baby. All right, y'all. I will see you for chapter 11 sometime. If you like my other content, I will see you in my other content, in the tent of the content. Do you hear her purring? I've got a belly dance ASMR coming up this week, and I really want to make a video of how to make cranberry crush, so stay tuned for that. And I'll see you all soon. No. Thanks for watching. You sure you don't want to say? You sure you don't want to say goodbye, baby? God, can you see this cuteness right there? She's so little. Cutie. All right, y'all.